4-0, looking for that 5th win here on day number 1. As you can see, as I mentioned, they were in the top 4 last weekend, and you see their yearly/seasonal standings here. Matthew Dilks, number 5, Daniel D'Amato, number 14 on those standings, both with 2 buys this weekend.
Yep. Both players also aggressively mulliganing here, trying to get good playable hands. They both know the matchup, and they know how these decks interact. You need to have a good draw more so than raw cards.
All right, D'Amato on the play. That's going to be Scalding Tarn. Fetches up Steam Vents down to 17.
When did they all start playing fetch lands and shock lands? I know there was a long time where they played like Shivan Reefs and no fetch lands. Was it Veil of Summer really that brought it around to the fetches, or what?
That's what Travis is telling me, and we do have 4 Veil of Summer in the sideboard here. I never got the fetchless thing, honestly.
Well, you deal yourself less damage overall, I think, was the big thing.
Right. I just didn't buy it. It's going to be Serum Visions for D'Amato. I believe 1 Scryed top and 1 bottom after drawing.
His hand looks pretty good, though. Has a Brawl Chief of Compliance as well as a Manamorphose, so likely going to be playing one of those mana creatures next turn and then potentially combo killing on the next one. We'll just have to wait and see how the next few turns play out.
Dilks is going to use a Wooded Foothills to go find a snow-covered forest to 19. To play a Sakura Tribe Scout. That's not a bad one, but D'Amato is now threatening the turn 3 land 2 is Spirebluff Canal, and here is Barol, Chief of Compliance.
Yeah, and when you have a Manamorphose, basically nothing's off the menu.
Anything could happen.
Yeah, this next turn could be wild. Now, it could also just be Manamorphose, play another mana creature, go. Could also just be Manamorphose, oh, well, I guess I'll cast Gifts and Given to set up for next turn.
Speaking of big setups, Amulet of Vigor is where Dilks will start turn number 2 here. Simic Growth Chamber will be the land for turn. Picks up his snow-covered forest. Going to tap that Growth Chamber and cast Explore. So now he has 1 more land drop and an activation of the Tribe Scout. That can get him up to a Souza potentially. Here's Tolaria West. And I believe he has passed turn. We're going to go to D'Amato, see if we do have a turn 3 win.
Dilks has the Bajuga Bug in hand.
Does he?
I'm pretty sure he does.
That could be very relevant.
Oh, it's extremely relevant against Gifts Ungiven.
Here's an attack for 1 from Baral. Dilks down to 18. D'Amato looks like he's calling for those storm counters.
Here it comes.
Tap of a land. Where are we starting? You mentioned there was a Manamorphose in hand. There it is.
So the attack from Baral and Goblin Electromancer happens like a reasonable amount. I'm curious if like these decks maybe you should start playing something like Charticourse. As weird as that might sound. Just like the spend 1 to draw 2, discard 1 is pretty great when you have one of those mana creatures on the battlefield. But in a resource strenuous games, being able to draw 2 for 1 mana is a pretty huge deal.
Another Manamorphose for D'Amato. Now up to 2 red and 1 blue floating. In theory, we should be tracking Storm. I don't see the Caleb Shear token here. Maybe they were scrounging that one up. But Storm is at 2 off a double Morphos. There he is. The Invitational Champion. Teammate of D'Amato's last weekend.
How's that feel? Playing the deck with your buddy who has the token basically named after his deck?
That's cool.
That is really cool.
Goblin Electromancer brings the mana in the pool down to 1 red. Storm's at 3. A tap of 2. Gifts Ungiven only cost 2 when he got 2 mana creatures. Still no land drop made this turn, depending on what's in the hand. We can see this Gifts go a couple different directions.
It's
Some
gonna
rituals.
I was going to say it's
front.
going to go in one direction, and that's try to kill you next turn. He's going to get Passive Flames, Manamorphose, and 2 rituals, as is custom.
Yeah, this is the stock Gifts pile.
This is the way.
I think that's a reference to something.
Yeah.
All right. Good job, Todd.
Yeah. If I explain the reference, you'll just yell at me for explaining references like
That's true.
So,
all right.
Lose-lose situation. Just like Daniel D'Amato's situation, if Matthew Dilks has that Bajuka Bog.
Yeah, the red rituals to the bin, Manamorphose and Passive Flames to D'Amato's hand. No 3rd land drop. Go to Dilks. Dilk will activate Tribe Scout, put that snow-covered forest back on the battlefield. Is it Titan time, do you suppose?
Yeah, any bounce land gives him access to 6 mana and still has access to that Sakura Tribe Scout activation, so...
Well, there's just Forest. Here's a Sousa. Still in range, but a pass of the turn from there. All right, so now Diamato untapping. A lot of rituals in the graveyard. We know about Manamorphose, Past in Flames in hand. Got a couple mana creatures on the table.
This might be one of those scenarios where Diamato has so much gasoline in the tank that he ends up just winning through a Bajuka Bog here. Like, he didn't miss a land drop last turn. His hand is all spells. He's resolved a bunch of Manamorphose and a Gifts Ungiven.
Oh, so here's another angle. It's possible that missing the land drops actually ends up being an issue because you might want to sandbag rituals to cast because of this Bajuka Bog, so you have something to work with your Past in Flames.
Right.
So you see Manamorphose was cast and then exiled there. So Storm's at 2. Past in Flames has resolved. There was nothing under it because the Bog got the graveyard. And, yep, just an attack with the Electromancer. Dilks to 16.
All right, but a handful of card draw spells from Diamato. I have to assume he's going to be able to rebuild over the next turn or two. Now it's just up to Dilks to actually close the door. He found his sicko one-of, instant speed Bajuka Bog to exile the graveyard in response to the Past in Flames, and now he needs to find a Primeval Titan and get this game over with.
Serum Visions post-combat for Diamato. Thinking a little bit about that Scry. Both cards go to the bottom. So just a handful of spells, no third land.
I think most notably, Diamato's gone through 3 Manamorphose that are all exiled now, and Manamorphose is a pretty big part of comboing with Past in Flames, simply because it allows you to translate red mana into blue.
Sure. I mean, that stings, but speaking of things that sting, Dilks, just another land and no Primeval Titan, has to pass. Now we'll see if Diamato can assemble another way to combo. He'll start with Sleight of Hand. 1 card to the hand, 1 to the bottom.
Dilks has like 8 cards to draw here that are just absolutely ridiculous.
Attack with Goblin Electromancer, Dilks to 14.
Wouldn't mind a double block from Dilks, just because I feel like these creatures don't really represent that much. But, you know, Dilks is a master with this archetype. So I would trust that maybe the extra land drops, once you get Primeval Titan, will allow for a kill that he would not usually have.
So Dilk's turn here. Explore into Sakura Tribe Scout. And it's another pass. That's it for Diamato. It's like repeal, targeting Amulet.
Yeah, and that is cost reduced.
Back over to Diamato. Who's going to stop bricking on the combo first? All right, here's the Storm counters back. Diamato's got something going. Poetic Ritual. 3 red in the pool, Storm's out 1. Spend 1 of that mana for Manamorphose. That's Manamorphose number 4.
Yeah, that was a nice one.
Couple blue mana in the pool now.
Not if he has enough mana to go for Past in Flames here, that Manamorphose should allow him to cast some of those card draw spells out of the graveyard as well. Even if he can't kill this turn, he can restock his entire hand by Past in Flaming and then going Manamorphose, draw a card, make blue, and cast 2 more card draw spells.
So here's Serum Visions using 1 of that blue. Now 2 red and a blue in the pool. Draws a card and scries 2. With 2 mana creatures, flashing back Past in Flames only costs 3 mana. Now there's Manamorphose and 1 Poetic Ritual in the graveyard. Finally, Diamato has that 3rd land. It's Island.
It's been a minute.
Opt. Storm's at 4. Scry to the bottom. The draw.
Maybe just looking for Gifts Ungiven to wrap it up. It's unclear. Has a bunch of mana floating with the Past in Flames in the grave, but doesn't have a ton of rituals, I think, is the big thing. But he's also been bottoming a bunch of rituals, so I honestly am not 100% what the plan is.
Empties the pool to flashback Past in Flames. Storm's at 5. Now, one of those Tribe Scouts still has Summoning Sickness. Yeah, if Dilks had access to both, you might see something like Bounce Land plus Bajuka Bog.
Right.
Part of the incentive for Diamato to go this turn.
I think if Dilks had that, Dilks actually would have done it on his own main phase just to snipe the Past in Flames because the Sakura Tribe Scout had Summoning Sickness. I think it's more likely Dilks' last card or two has a Pact of Negation. And it looks like that's what he does have, and he's going to do that now and pay for it next turn.
Sure. Yeah, he does have 2 blue sources, T-West and Simic Growth Chamber. Looks like Diamato is looking to respond to the Pact. Maybe not. No, just storm up to 6, and the Past in Flames is countered.
Is there an unsubstantiate in Diamato's list?
There are 2 remand, but that one's a little awkward.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I was going to... If it's unsubstantiate, I think unsubstantiate works with Past in Flames, where if you're flashing it back and it's going to get countered, you can return it to your hand. Whereas with remand, it does not work, but I'm not positive on that.
I'm not exactly sure where that breaks down.
A lot of really complicated interactions in Modern.
So here's paying for the Pact from Dilks. That means that I'm very confident we're not going to see a Primeval Titan this turn. Not that we were before.
I mean, he has Amulet in hand, right? Two extra land drops with Zusa. Yeah, you're right.
I'm just saying, he's been doing a lot of nothing. I'd be surprised to see that entire composition.
That's true, that's true.
But here's an opt on end step from Diamato.
I was more so just pointing out that that deck can generate some mana in a hurry.
Oh, it sure can. It sure can.
Notably, Dilks did not replay the Amulet of Vigor, though.
Sleight of hand for Diamato. There is a second Past in Flames in the deck.
Yeah, they use that alongside Gifts Ungiven to create a, not quite an infinite loop, but a deterministic kill if your opponent does not gain like 100 life.
Tapped a Breeding Pool, and I want to say Diamato is past the turn.
Well, I think the joke is that Diamato just kind of remand flooded, or some. I honestly am not sure. He has a Gifts Ungiven and he can cast now, but no mana to float. Possible that he just is playing very defensive.
And back to Matt Dilks.
This is not the 2 ships passing in the night that we thought it was going to be.
Well, they're just really slow boats. That's what it is. Explore for Dilks. Draws a card off the Explorer and passes turn. Now Diamato, 2 mana plus 2 mana creatures, will cast Gifts Ungiven end step.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking it's more and more likely the thing you said about the bounce land now. Dilks has the ability to exile the graveyard at any point if he has a bounce land.
I wonder if Diamato is going to try to combo on hard mode for that reason.
Maybe, but like, what do you get with the Gifts Ungiven if you're trying to combo on hard mode?
Cards that replace themselves. It is unfortunate that Manamorphose is just gone, right? So you already can't do Past in Flames 3 rituals. You can put Past in Flames in the pile and force that action if you want.
I probably would. It only costs 2 on the front half.
We're also getting into territory where we have to look at the 1 mana cantrips. He's been spinning the tires a lot. You see 2 ops in the graveyard, 2 Sleight of Hand, and a Seer Vision. Some of those effects have also been exiled by the Bajuka Bog.
Yeah. Getting relatively low on cards. I think that the most likely scenario for Daniel Diamato to win this game, and that's assuming that Dilks has a bounce land in hand right at this moment, is for him to try to get a spot where he gets to remand his own Grape Shot. If he's able to do that, you can generate a lot of burst damage without using the graveyard. It's one of the tricks that the deck has to go through against the likes of Leyline of the Void or Rest in Peace on occasion. Now, don't have to do it in game 1 too often, but here it looks like we're in hard mode, like you said.
The pile is Poetic Ritual, Grape Shot, Past in Flames, Gifts Ungiven.
Well, if I'm Dilks, I probably put Grape Shot in the grave. Maybe the Gifts Ungiven in the grave as well. Let him have the Past in Flames and use Exile in response to the Past in Flames. And you get rid of one of the Grape Shots, so there's only, what, 1 left?
Actually only 1 Grape Shot in the main deck. There's 1 Grape Shot, 1 empty.
Okay.
It's like Past in Flames and the Ritual go to the bin, Gifts Ungiven, and the Grape Shot go to hand. Possible that's what Diamato wanted. Just to have the Grape Shot in the hand.
Yeah. It's kind of why I wanted to put it into the grave, just because at the very least, Diamato can use the grave shot to just clean up the 2 Secure Tribe Scouts like right now, and that'll prevent the future shenanigans of Bajuka Bog in response to stuff. But once the second Pass of Flames is gone, it doesn't really matter.
Right. Yeah, just 2 in the deck there. 1 has already been exiled. If you want to use this other one, you got to flash it back. He'll shock for Breeding Pool to 15. It's land number 5. Tap of 3. That can only mean Past in Flames. Get those storm counters back out.
It resolved. Well, Dilks must be on air. So I have a feeling you should exile the entire graveyard before everything gets
cast.
Well, I was going to say it gets flashback. There's a lot of instants in there.
That's Poetic Ritual. That's spell number 2. 3 red mana in the pool. Manamorphose. Spell number 3.
Yeah, if Dilks didn't have the way to exile the graveyard here, this game should be over. That Pass in Flames is for a giant amount of damage. And Dilks' deck is not really set up to interact with this deck on the stack. Mostly he interacts with the graveyard via Bajuka Bog or his gold fishing. So
Poetic Ritual flashback. Storms at 4. 2 blue, 4 red floating.
I think mostly Diamato is just trying to make sure he doesn't lose to a potential second Pact of Negation, which doesn't show up often, but it does show up occasionally.
Sleight of Hand, cast with one of the floating blue. Looks like Goblin Electromancer was picked up. That one, not terribly consequential. And you're going to see a separation of spells with flashback and ones that don't. I guess that was flashback, rather. So no new things have entered the graveyard since the Past in Flames. Gifts Ungiven flashback. Storms at 6. Getting to a point where this pile might be a little fancy. Running low on unique spells in the deck.
Yeah, for sure. No Manamorphose left. Maybe some rituals in there just to generate storm count. Maybe like ritual, remand, and a card draw spell.
2 red rituals, remand, and opt. It's exactly it.
I was trying to think of a permutation that made more sense, and off the top of my head, it was just, you just want more raw spells to cast. The rituals do that. The remand gives you an extra grave shot, so that's great. But if the remand goes to the grave, it's pretty good. The opt seems like a no-brainer to put in hand because he's pretty restricted on blue mana.
Yeah, opt, Poetic Ritual go to hand. Desperate Ritual remand to the bin. Looks like the correct split to me, to the extent that this game is possibly winnable. Don't know if that's the case. Here's Poetic Ritual. Storms at 7, 5 red in the pool.
With only 1 grave shot and a remand in the graveyard, Diamato does need to use his last blue mana to remand his own grave shot to kill this turn, unless he has a lot of other stuff going on. But
well, here is Grape Shot. Storm is 8, and I believe that's second remand. There it is.
okay.
That's going to be Grape Shot, remand, Grape Shot again. That's more than 14. Daniel Diamato wins kind of a weird marathon of a game 1.
For sure. And that the interaction with Storm and remand is quite interesting because for those of you who haven't played Magic for 20 years like I have, you might not know that the Storm mechanic is a trigger, that when you cast a spell, you get a copy of it for every spell that's cast before that. So you cast Grape Shot, you locked in the Storm of X equals 7, right? And then you remand the original copy. The original copy goes back to your hand since it's a physical card, and then you get to cast it again, and Grape Shot again.
Players going to sideboards here for Matthew Dilks. He has 3 Dismember, 3 Mystical Dispute, 2 Beast Within, a Tectonic Edge, a Radiant Fountain, an Engineered Explosives, a Field of the Dead, a Reclamation Sage, a Ramunat Excavator, and a Tireless Tracker.
Before we move on to the sideboard, I just want to take a moment and shout out Star City Games. The camera quality on these 2 players right now, excellent. Great job, Travis. As well as the lighting in here. The lighting in this room is awesome. Not a lot of shadows. You can see all the cards, not a lot of glare. You guys did a great job. Thank you. Now, as far as the sideboard is concerned, 3 Dismember, 3 Mystical Dispute. These cards seem like they should both come in. Simply Dismember kills the mana creatures, and Mystical Dispute counters most of the spells. Manamorphose, non-rituals at the very least. And since those mana creatures are the most important cards from Diamato's side as well as Gifts Ungiven, I think that there's a good chance that Dispute comes in. The two beasts withins I don't really like. Tectonic Edge seems pretty bad. Radiant Fountain, nah. Engineering Explosives. Maybe want the one of explosives in case you randomly get hit with Empty the Warrens. But I don't think the Engineering Explosives is all that great because the Gift Storm player is very unlikely to try to kill you with Empty the Warrens because it's so mediocre against just a giant primeval type. Also, it gets outclassed by Field of the Dead.
Sideboard for Diamato. 4 Lightning Bolt, 4 Veil of Summer, 4 Aria Flame, 2 Factor Fiction. That's hot. Love that. 1 Shenanigans.
Yeah, I've actually seen a few people now doing Factor Fiction instead of Pieces of the Puzzle, which for 1 more mana, you just gain, what, minimum 3 cards? There's just like no bones about it.
EOTFOFYL.
Yeah. You lose?
End of turn. Factor Fiction. You lose.
Good day, sir. GDS. Good day, sir.
Yeah. Nice.
All right, in this matchup, Diamato may want some small amount of lightning bolts to handle those early mana creatures, but I don't think you want to go too overboard on them. The Veil Summers don't hit too much. I would probably leave those on the sideline. Aria Flame, similarly, I don't think you can really expect to win the game that way, but maybe it's a little slow is the problem. And in this matchup, I think you really need speed more than anything. Again, Factor Fiction is like a card that you would want to bring in if you expect the games to go longer, but again, I don't think they will.
I think this sideboard Aria Flame technology is something to be very aware of if you're preparing for a modern tournament. I was streaming this week, and I queued into Storm, and chat said, "Are you going to board and weather the Storm?" I said, "Of course not. It's terrible."
Yeah,
that's
bad.
For the burn matchup.
Yeah.
Very bad. I lost to an Aria Flame post-sideboard, but that 6 life might have got me there, you know.
I mean, if a gain 6 life is going to get you there, were you being facetious?
Yes.
Okay, good.
About what?
About the 6 life mattering versus Aria Flame.
Yeah, I was being facetious about that. Yeah.
Okay, I was just making sure. So I love Aria Flame, but I am not the hugest fan of it in Gift's Storm. It's a great sideboard option that doesn't utilize the graveyard, which is nice for things like playing against Rest in Peace and the like. But I loved Aria Flame in the Is It Phoenix deck because your entire deck was just meant to cycle, right?
Sure.
This deck, you have like the 12 cantrips, so you can cycle pretty well, but you're going to hit a lot of spots where you kind of get in a glut, where you hit like 2 or 3 rituals if you have Aria Flame, and if you had Passive Flames, that would be great, but because you have Aria Flame, it's not quite as good. But it's still a good sidestep maneuver for these decks.
Players underway here. Dilks started with Gemstone Mine, Sakura Tribe Scout. Diamato shocked for Steam Vents to Lightning Bolt that one down. Yeah. Dilks has another Tribe Scout here on turn number 2, and then Golgari Rotfarm will pick up that Gemstone Mine, reset those depletion counters. Diamato's, or I guess they're mine counters. Who can remember? Puta Delta's land number 2 for Diamato.
I'm pretty sure it's depletion counter.
I know that the Masks lands, like Sandstone Needle, uses
depletion.
Maybe
you're right.
I think it's actually mining counters.
Great.
All right, Castle Garenbrig tapped for Dilks, and we see Diamato crack that Pluto Delta. Goes to 17 for Steam Vents.
Active Sakura Tribe Scout is pretty great here, though. It's going to allow Dilks to get ahead on mana. Diamato, no turn 2 play. May have been holding up for Remand or something. Definitely needs one of those mana creatures pretty soon here. Now, if he does have a Brawl or Electromancer plus Remand, that's a great spot to be in.
Well, what he has is Spire Bluff Canal Go. We see Dilks use the Tribe Scout end step.
Perhaps considering another bounce land. Those bounce lands have a lot of value when you start combining them with things like Talaria West or the Bojuka Bog, so it makes sense that he would want to be conservative on playing them, especially because they do generate extra mana once he has that Amulet of Vigor online.
Gemstone Mine is back with 3 mining counters.
Oh my god.
Nailed it.
Got him. Guess who's back?
Slayer's Stronghold is the land for Dilks, and just a pass. Snow-covered island, pass back, activate Tribe Scout, Boros Garrison.
I feel like we about to start getting aggressive with Sakura Tribe Scout.
17 more turns of this.
No, dude, Slayer Stronghold, what are you talking about?
Yeah, speeds
6
it
turns.
Speeds it up.
6.
Attacking for 3 is nice.
Yeah. That's like build your own Oko.
Toss another Tribe Scout in there, give it haste.
Sure.
Attack for 4.
Yeah.
Really speed it up. Here's Cavern of Souls for Dilks.
Well, that's game over.
I think a big tap happening here. I think a Primeval Titan kind of a tap. I think he'd prefer not to use the Stronghold, but determines he has to. There's the Titan, though. Can't counter that. Cavern is on Giant.
Yeah, unfortunately, Castle Garenbrig does get you 6 mana, but you can't float the uncounterable mana from Cavern of Souls into it. So he wants to make sure that this Primeval Titan doesn't get hit with Remand. He's going to find the Bojuka Bog, and with Sakura Tribe Scout and it being returned to hand, he has the ability to exile the graveyard at will, and he's taking initiative by getting that Primeval Titan to stick onto the battlefield.
Things looking much better for Dilks in this game. As you mentioned, Simic Growth Chamber picking up that Bojuka Bog. Diamato's done nothing, though. He's just made 4 land drops. I think that the floor for what we see from here is Factor Fiction.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw gifts, and there it is. So this is a hard mode gifts. I don't know. Normally costed gifts ungiven for the first time in 6 years.
Hard mode in the sense that it costs 4, and also in the sense that he has to find a gifts pile that can beat Graveyard Hate.
Yeah, not only beat Graveyard Hate, but I don't know. Just it seems really difficult to without a mana creature already. I'm not really sure what he's supposed to do. Something like Passive Flames here is just useless because of that Bojuka Bog, but that could all change if he actually has access to another Lightning Bolt. So it might be worth trying to go for that route, because he's going to expose the graveyard for a moment. Like if Passive Flames goes to the graveyard, Dilks can go ahead and just exile the Passive Flames, right?
So the pile was Lightning Bolt, Manamorphose, which have already been put in the graveyard. It looks like Baral, Chief of Compliance, and Passive Flames go into Diamato's hand.
Yeah, and this isn't a turn, so Diamato's going to get to untap with all 4 lands, cast Baral, and he might be able to go out from here. It's going to be a little difficult in the face of Tribe Scout into Bojuka Bog, but we've seen crazier things.
Let's see what Diamato can do from here. When that Titan starts attacking, your problems only get worse. Tap a 2, I imagine, starting with that Baral. There he is.
Should be an interesting little dance here. Diamato kind of has to go for it, but also is kind of going to get his whole graveyard stripped in response. So
there's Poetic Ritual, and Brawl gets dismembered. Things getting harder all the time. Dilks to 16.
Yeah, it's tough. But he is going to be floating a reasonable amount of mana here. 3 red, and I believe he has another Brawl in hand, which he could maybe cast and continue the chain, though he still has to face down that Bojuka Bog that's going to exile his graveyard.
Diamato will respond to Dismember with Manamorphose.
So Baral, Poetic, Manamorphose, Dismember, Storm counts 4. We're going to have 3 red and 2 blue floating, if I had to guess. Okay.
All right, Manamorphose resolves. Blue and red floating. We'll see if Diamato has any additional rituals to squeeze in here. It's like Remand on Dismember. That ain't bad either.
No, and with Brawl, he also gets an extra loot out of the deal. So he can turn that extra Brawl into something meh.
Right, so Storm's at 5. Remand draws a card. Brawl then loots, like you said, because the spell was countered.
Even though it wasn't put in the graveyard, Remand does still technically counter the spell. It actually has the caveat that if the spell is countered, it goes back to hand.
It's a weird one. Very unique.
Yep. And one that I have missed playing with in Modern. Love that card so much.
Well,
Typical player's dream.
Just play Storm.
Yeah, I love to play decks whose turns last 15 minutes. All I want to ever do is press F6, just so you know. My dream, coasting through life, holding F6.
You can have F6 a lot of turns with Storm.
Yeah, but not this one.
Here's an attempt at Passive Flames. We knew that the Sakura Tribe Scout was going to put that Bog in. Graveyard is exiled. Still 1 red floating for Diamato.
Yeah, and he can actually cast a couple things here if he wants, and then those things can have flashback.
Yeah, this
So-
could be very relevant to Manamorphose holding here with the Graveyard Exiled and Passive Flame still on the stack.
Yeah, it still has a land drop to make too, and if he has any more instants here, giving those flashback here could allow him to combo this turn.
So blue and red and floating. Manamorphose got flashback. He will flash that back. Goes up to 1 red and 2 blue. Storm's at 8. Scalding Tarn, there's the land for turn. Yamato fetches.
I have a feeling that Diamato has to win this turn. I don't know exactly what Dilks has in hand or exactly what he's going to do on the following turn. Even if he's not killing, I think he's going to set up a Pact of Negation plus Bojuka Bog soft lock. And so Daniel knows that getting attacked by Primeval Titan is about the worst thing that's going to happen to him this match. He needs to figure out a way to win this turn.
Island found out the fetch. Diamato's at 16. Is going to use that to catch a sleight of hand. Looks like a red ritual is on those cards. I think it's red ritual Past in Flames. Pretty easy red ritual.
Yeah, with the Past in Flames in the graveyard having flashback. And I think just need more raw spells for the Past in Flames in the next few turns.
Your Serum Vision. Storm's at 10.
Pretty close to just raw killing with a Grape Shot if he finds one.
Couple lands on the scry. Those go to the bottom. That's easy. Oh no, Diamato just has to pass. So he found Ritual there, but he's just kind of out of gas.
Yeah, probably has no more card draw effects and doesn't have the kill in hand, so.
Your odds for round 2 are being posted.
Go back to Matt Dilks. Let's see exactly how much damage this Primeval Titan can do. You mentioned the setup this turn likely involves getting a Pact of Negation online.
Yep, the Primeval Titan can search up one of those bounce lands, namely Simic Growth Chamber and Talaria West. Talaria West returns, and then he can transmute it for a Pact of Negation. It's a tough spot for Dilks. Most of the time this dude's playing an autopilot because his deck is just running rampant over people, but this Storm deck, you can tell he slows things down when he knows it's a tougher matchup. Like it's just, you got to think through things more clearly.
Yeah, this one also not a terribly popular matchup these days. Be one thing if Storm was kind of everywhere and you played against it a lot, but complicated matchup, probably a little rusty on it relative to playing against, Urza Oko.
Oh yeah, I know that when they when Hilm, Daryl Ayers, Edgar Maguiech, and Will Polium test, they all kind of sit on Google Hangouts and just watch each other play. They screen share all 4 screens, and I'm sure they just have an unbelievable amount of experience against Urza, but there hasn't been a ton of Storm lately until last weekend, so it's even though it's not a new deck, it's certainly not something that they are used to playing against a lot, I bet.
So there's an activation of Slayer's Stronghold on the Primeval Titan and an attack for 8. The trigger finds Gruul Turf and Vesuva.
Yep, I would imagine that Vesuva here is going to be copying Bojuka Bog, and then Gruul Turf is likely going to bounce the Vesuva, since it's the most versatile of the cards.
Yeah, so sounds like Bog was copied. It's like a Dismember on Baral. Dilks to 12. Yeah, we still have the Bog and the Bounce Land trigger on the stack here. So the Bog exiles that, and then Vesuva looks to be the pickup off the Gruul Turf.
It's always nice to keep Vesuva in hand. Just can be anything you want to be. Radiant Fountain, Conning Garden, Bojuka Bog. Hell, it can even be itself. I'm pretty sure you can choose to not copy anything.
Advise against that one.
Yeah, it does not tap for colorless. I learned that one the hard way.
Oh no. Just like Vesuva go, turn 1.
I think it was like turn 1 Blood Moon, I Vesuva Goat, and then like later I killed the Blood Moon and it just didn't tap for mana.
Yeah, you just have this land with no text.
Okay.
And that's going to do it. Diamato just kind of ran out of his combo potential there.
Well, I'm telling you, that graveyard hate, he tried to win through it, and he came pretty darn close. Got up to about Storm 10 with about 3 or 4 mana floating. But unfortunately, the Gifts and Givens are reliant on the graveyard to exist in order to be good. And so if his hand was just full of these like Passive Flames and Gifts and Givens, then not really a whole lot he can do against that recurring Bojuka Bog. His graveyard's just always going to be gone.
A good navigation by Matthew Dilks there, managing the graveyard there in a matchup where you only have so much interaction. Coming off a participation in the Players' Championship back in December, so a regular on the tour and actually a regular dominant force here. Coming off a top 4 last weekend. I think he said he was going to step away, but obviously he's back and going to make a push for the PCA.
Back, baby!
29-year-old from Burlington, Ontario. 15 Opens played last year with 8 top 8, so over 50% conversion with the win.
Yeah, I think just the most impressive thing to me is Matt Dilks' performance in Team Opens. I think him, Magyej, Ayers, and Pulliam combined in some combination have top 8'd almost every single team event we've had for the last 13 months.
Well, they have the team dynamic that I love. 3 players playing their matches and leaving each other alone.
Yeah.
It's the best.
I agree. Yeah.
There's plenty of time to talk at the bar after the tournament, Don't talk to me when I'm playing.
Miss me with that. You should probably mulligan that line.
Should I keep this hand? Whatever. I'm not your keeper.
So, one of the team events I played about a year and a half ago now, maybe a little longer, was playing against somebody, and it's like game 1 looks over and it's just like turn 1 is like which one would you lead on? And I just paused for a second. I stopped him. I'm like, what? Are you, no offense. How do you not know what thing to play on turn 1? And it wasn't like, I'm going to try to combo kill in one. It was like, do I play Champion of the Parish or do I play Noble Hierarch?
You think it's Scalding Tarn or Misty Rainforest?
Yeah, which land do I start with? What do I fetch? How about just play Magic, and if you have a tough decision, ask your teammate for a little help.
Let's try to finish in time here.
Yeah, there's so many draws of these tournaments.
Diamato on a 6-card hand.
I blame
here.
Ross Marion.
That's a good person to blame. Shock's first team events down to 18. Serum Visions is a turn 1 play. Go to Matt Dilks.
See if he has a turn 1 play here.
He does. It's Wooded Foothills, but no spells.
That's, well...
Spire Bluff Canal into Goblin Electromancer. Scary stuff from Diamato. Check for a Dismember.
I just love shortcutting language and just getting immediately dumpstered by you. It's great. It's awesome, dude. You're just like honk semantics. Well, a Mystical Dispute, that's a turn 1 play.
That is. There it is.
Turn 1 play. That's the one.
Shocks to 17 for a breeding pool for it. That is a good turn 1 play, I gotta say.
I agree. Yeah, countering the mana creature, I coined that as one of the more important parts of the post-sideboard games was Dilks bringing in those disputes as a way to fight off those mana creatures because they are, by and large, the most important cards in the Gift Storm deck. Their win percentage with and without those mana creatures is outrageously different.
Right. Speaking of cards that relevantly contribute to win percentage, here is Amulet for Dilks, and Simic Growth Chamber will pick up that breeding pool.
Yeah, Amulet of Vigor is one of those cards that's just kind of been around for a long time. I had a Cloud Post deck at the beginning of the Modern format. I had a Cloud Post Scapeshift deck where I just would Scapeshift into 4 Cloud Post. I have Ugin. With an Amulet on the battlefield, that was enough mana to let you cast Ulamog or something. I forget. I don't remember.
I mean, 4 Cloud Posts is 16 mana, yeah.
Yeah.
And you have the 2 reduction on the eye. You got to pay 7 to use it.
Yeah.
So you down to 9, and it's +2. He needs some more lands to cast the Boom Booms. You can cast a Void Winnower. I don't think that card existed yet, because that was 1993. All right, so there was Scalding Tarn, Seer Visions for Diamato. Now we have Cavern on Human for Dilks, so Souza deployed. Breeding Pool shocked in. Goes to 15. Could have just untapped that. That's free.
The trigger goes on the stack. and he may have some way to protect his Azusa. I imagine that if Dilks shocks in that scenario, it is a very important reason why.
Sure. Something that interacts with Lightning Bolt, you're saying?
Something, I mean, maybe just guaranteeing he has very few spots where Mystical Dispute is not turned on. Because then Daniel could have gone Ritual Gifts Ungiven in response to the trigger on the Breeding Pool. So the 2 life is a minor price to pay.
Fair.
It's obviously not free, especially if it gets into hardcore Grape Shot mode.
Yes, there was a Gruul Turf after that. Diamato's turn was just Snow Cover Mountain Pass, so passing with 4 mana up. Dilks threatening to have a lot of mana. He's starting with Summoner's Pact, so things can get ugly real quick.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Primeval Titan found there. The Cavern of Souls was picked up, so that one likely to not be counterable. There's Cavern on Giant.
Now, he may be thinking about playing 2 more lands here because Diamato could kill the Azusa with the Primeval Titan and the triggers on the stack, and that would prevent 2 additional land drops. But Dilks also gets to return some lands, maybe with a bounce land, and then still has 2 more lands to play. So it could do some cool shenanigans that way.
So Titans there. Looks like there was no response. Gonna go find Slayer's Stronghold.
You know what my favorite part about Dilks is?
What's that?
Doesn't put a die on his deck when he casts Summoner's Pact.
I love that.
It's like, yeah, just remember.
Yeah. You
So
know,
I played my deck.
that's my Mishra's Bobble trick.
Ah.
What do you do to remember your Mishra's Bobble trick?
I remember it.
I don't forget.
I draw the card.
Yeah, I draw a card on the next upkeep.
Yeah. You know how bad it is to, like, or how easy it is to forget a Mishra's Bobble trigger? Like, with a die on top of your deck? It's very easy.
Yeah. You may remember the die, but will you remember the card?
Yeah.
Some more lands here. You got that Boros Garrison came out of hand. The Telaria West was found off the Titan. That got picked up. Transmute for Pact of Negation.
Yep. Dilks here with deck in hand, basically digging every single phase for more lands, generating more of an advantage. And this is all thanks to Amulet of Vigor, making those lands enter the battlefield effectively untapped, as well as those bounce shenanigans with things like Telaria West. Now his hand has Force of Negation. He's attacking with a Haste of Primeval Titan thanks to Slayer's Stronghold. And even if he doesn't kill this turn, he's still effectively locking up the game thanks to that Pact of Negation.
Titan hasted up. Attack for 9 here. Titan plus Azusa. Grabbing T-West Bajuka Bog. Graveyard exiled once again.
Seems like a common theme here for Diamato is to have his graveyard turn sideways. A tapped graveyard, if you will.
Yeah, one player is exiling it or the other.
All right, now, currently only has to pay for Green Pact. If he uses Blue Pact, has to pay for that as well.
Yeah, so can Diamato win through a pact? Starts with Opt. Not an inspired start.
No, this is EOT, I think. So he can play some stuff here and maybe try to find a way on his own turn. I don't know if it starts. Oh,
I
was
believe,
wrong.
I believe I saw him draw the card. But
My bad.
Yeah,
No,
just
you're right.
An Opt and a concede there. It's going to be a 2-1 win for Matthew Dilks, advancing to 5-0. Of course he's going to make a run at the PC.
Yeah, of course.
You can't quit. You can't quit. You're too
No
good
one
to
can
quit. Matt, you're too good to quit. Daniel Diamato, he is 4-1 though. Still a pretty good start to the tournament for him.